Somewhere beyond the recesses of time and space, two podcasters are set adrift in a machine, picking up transmissions of movies that are forgotten but not gone.
Welcome to Movie Memory Machine, the only podcast about forgotten movies that doesn't need a crystal ball because we got a time machine. I'm your host, Landon Solano, joined always by my co-host, Truman Capps. Truman, it's good to see you.
Landon, if you didn't pay 25 cents, you're not allowed to see me. I'm not going to do any of my circus tricks. I'm not going to bite the head off a chicken. I'm not going to make any convoluted Steely Dan references until you have paid up. That's the way I, as a professional performer, operate.
Uh-huh. Well, good. Yes, I respect that. I have to ask you a question right out the gate.
Are you asking me a question to get out of paying the 25 cents that you need to pay to take part in this?
No, I might be gearing up to do a little show of my own to get you to pay me admission.
Zip. Okay. Tell me. Okay, ask me this question then.
Have you ever had your tarot read?
Yes, in fact, I have had my tarot read a couple of times.
Really? What was your experience with it?
It's never been a thing that I've done professionally. It's just, in the course of my life growing up in Oregon and then living in LA, I have been in contact with a number of white girls who are into tarot. And I've had numerous readings and, from friends and my girlfriend. And it's always been the sort of thing where I am surprised at how much I get out of it and how much I draw from it, because both I think that the art on the cards is really beautiful, but then also, and this is the way also, everyone who's doing a tarot reading for me very much says, this is bullshit. It's not actually like you reading the future. It's more that you look at these things and then how you react to them is a tool for introspection into yourself and what you're thinking. So... Yeah. For me, it's always been like, I learned some stuff about myself by analyzing these cards, and that was cheaper than therapy. So,
that's very perceptive of you. You surprised me here.
You seem surprised. What, you think I'm a total dumbass?
No, I just think you would have been like, oh yeah, tarot. No, it's not something I've ever really given any thought to, or I know people that do it, but it's not really my thing. I'm surprised that you have participated at that level.
I mean, look...
And got something out of it.
Look, I challenge you or any of our listeners to spend more than 15 minutes in Eugene, Oregon without getting your tarot read. It is simply impossible. I think it's great. Oh, shit. Landon has just escalated the podcast with a set of tarot cards.
I thought we could do a little experiment here today.
Okay.
Here's my... one of many big reveals for this episode.
Yeah.
I have done more research for today's show than I have on any show during our entire run so far.
Okay.
I have spent about 6 months learning a number of things for today's episode.
Are you gonna bite the head off a chicken? Or have you been becoming a geek this whole time?
Nope. One of which is doing some tarot.
Okay.
I never actually had like an authentic reading, but I have had, interactions with people who are into tarot. I've had people like draw a card, on my behalf and be like, I think this is really suiting your vibe right now. Maybe you want to like just meditate on this particular thing. Mm-hmm. But I grabbed a deck. This is the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot deck.
Yes, of course. One of my all-time top decks.
One of the reasons I spent 6 months doing this is they say that the more time you spend with your deck, the more in tune with it and the forces surrounding it you are.
Have you taken it out into the moonlight to charge it off of the moon's rays? Because that's a thing.
I have not.
Don't laugh.
I have not.
I'm not making it up. It's not a bit.
You know what? My bedroom window gets all of the moonlight.
Okay.
So maybe I'll just set them on my windowsill.
Yeah. I mean, it won't do us any good for this episode, but they'll be all charged up for the future. Yeah.
But I've done a number of readings, and we're going to do a reading in just a second to kick us off. But I was surprised at my experience with this doing a reading for myself. The very first time I did it. What surprised me was almost exactly what you just described, where, I don't put any stock personally, no shade against anyone who does, any stock into fates or energies or things that are controlling or, manipulating morphic fields, etc., the secret, you put it out into the universe, it comes back to you.
Yeah.
Etc. That said, when I just did a simple, I've been practicing mostly on a 3-card reading, which is the past, present, future.
Yeah.
What struck me with it was when you flip them over, you look at them, you read them, and you interpret the cards based on, the intended meanings of them. It becomes more of a litmus test for, as you said, introspection.
Yeah.
I found it to be very much like reading and interpreting your own dreams, where, like, I don't buy into the fact that if you dream about water, you're dreaming about life, etc., etc. Like, I don't think there's any one way to read a dream that applies to everybody. It's like, what does water mean to you, and what was that water in context of your dream? And then you start to pull it apart and go, oh yeah, water means, home to me because I used to live on the ocean, and I had a nightmare about it going dry. Like, then you can start to pull apart your own fears and where your mind is currently at.
Yeah, like, or it's like, oh, there was a lot of water in that dream because the team of thieves who were trying to incept me needed to use water so they could scuba dive into my dream vault and get all my secrets out. I mean, there's usually a logical explanation for why a dream is the way that it is.
Indeed. So, I thought we could do a little tarot reading, and to keep it just above board here, let's do just a tarot reading of our podcast.
Oh, okay.
So, past, present, and future. So, how things have gone,
death,
where things are currently going, like where things are for this episode, and then where things are going from here.
Yeah, sounds good.
So I think we both need to just kind of focus on our podcast.
Okay.
And
we normally don't do that when we're recording our podcast.
We need to cut the deck 3 times. So I'll let you do it twice, and I'll do it once. You tell me when to stop, and I will cut it there.
All right. Stop.
Okay. I'm going to take the top card here.
Beautiful.
Okay, that was passed.
All right.
So I will cut it for our present.
Can't
wait. And, listeners, write in. I might not be doing this correct. I am still a novice.
Do you think our listeners are so good that they can hear from the way you're shuffling the cards that you're fucking it up?
I mean, the thing is, like, I cut the deck, and then from the cut deck, I'm choosing the top card from that. I don't know if that's the way to do it, if you're supposed to cut it 3 times and then choose the 3 card. I don't know. I'm just going with a gut check here. So I chose my card. Now let's have you cut the deck once more, and you tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay.
I mean, there's also a chance that that tarot doesn't really work through an internet connection. So there's a lot of,
we'll find out.
There's a lot of ways we're doing our own homebrew rules.
There are a lot of people online who offer their tarot services over Zoom that would disagree with you. So, just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you can get Reiki over Zoom now too.
We didn't make a connection. I mean, I'm hoping that we have a strong enough connection that maybe that can pull into it. But
podcasting, the strongest connection of all.
Let's see. So this is the card that we had for the past.
Okay.
It is right side up, the Queen of Swords.
Oh, okay. Swords, very cool. Queens, we're huge feminists on this show.
Okay, so Queen of Swords, at least from this little guidebook I have, because I'm that basic, says this. Keywords are just, fair, intelligent, faithful, warrior, strong beliefs, idealistic, highly principled. The Queen of Swords has a strong mind and keen intelligence. Yeah. With a cool exterior, she may sometimes seem icy or aloof, but she is also always kind and fair toward her subjects. The Queen will argue her opinions with a clear head and keen insight.
Okay.
She is not afraid to fight for her principles if her duties require it. When this card is selected, it may represent a female who displays these qualities or may indicate the time is right for these characteristics to be developed by the word I don't know. Querent. Querent?
Querent. Yeah, I think that's the person that's the person drawing the card. It's like the person who's made the query, the querent.
Okay. So that represents the past of our podcasts.
Okay, yeah. I mean, in the past, I think I was fighting with very clear intent for how good the rundown was, and there was a disagreement. And likewise, you've argued quite vociferously on behalf of Carrie. Maybe Carrie is the Queen of Swords? Carrie 2013?
Maybe. This is about the entire 8-year journey we've had to this point. So, I mean, I think that goes back to our grunt work days where we were, I think, pretty fair-minded over how we approached the TV series Home Improvement.
I think some of our reviews on Apple Podcasts suggest people thought we were being quite unfair to one of the cast members.
Being fair doesn't mean agreeing with everything all the time. It just means coming at it with a clear head. Shall we look at our present?
Yeah, let's look at our present.
Okay, our present, upside down, is... Whoops. Shoot. And I dropped it on the floor. That means something, too. When it's on the floor, it means something, and I don't know what.
It counts for double points on the floor.
Shit. I think if it's on the floor, it means it's actually going to come true. So this is all about today's episode. Well, I swear to God, this wasn't intended, but it's
this card's just an exploding septic tank. I don't even know what that means, but now it's definitely coming true.
The 9 of Wands. Upside down. The 9 of Wands.
Upside down and on the floor.
Upside down, on the floor, 9 of Wands. So usually when it's upside down, it's the opposite of what is here.
Okay,
and
opposite day rules in effect, yes.
Keywords: final challenge, goal in sight, perseverance, tenacity, determination, courage to overcome.
Oh.
The 9 of Wands represents last-minute challenges on your way to attaining a goal. You have come a long way and are determined not to give up now. Although it may not seem like it at the moment, what you have been hoping for is within reach. Your goal is in sight, and you find courage and tenacity to give one final push. If you persevere, no obstacle can stand in your way for long. From deep within, you must find the resources to keep going and remain hopeful.
So it's the
that
opposite.
Doesn't bode well for today.
It's the opposite of that, though, right?
It's the opposite and will come true because it was on the ground.
Okay, so what it means is that we're far away from achieving our goals. We've not been working hard or tenaciously.
Let's just pause and make sure both of our recorders are going.
Yes.
Okay, I am
yeah, no audio glitches, but a lot could go wrong when we upload.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I mean, does that give you any initial impressions? Or should I move on to the future?
Well, I just really wish that card had been right side up, because at first I was listening to it and thinking, like, yeah, we have been working really hard. Like, yeah, we have achieved a lot. Maybe the end is in sight. Maybe we're almost out of the spooky dimension. Maybe we're going to be free of this. But no.
We will. As of today, this is the last spooky dimension movie.
Well, how the fuck do you know, dude? How do you know it's the last spooky dimension movie? We could be in here forever.
Well, you're true.
We could be geeking for the rest of our lives.
Wishful thinking on your behalf. All right, shall we look at the future and then get on with this episode?
Yeah, look at the future.
Right side up, we have the Page of Pentacles.
The Page of Pentacles. That sounds like a bar where cocktails cost $23.
Okay, the Page of Pentacles, right side up and on the table, not on the floor, is diligent, reliable, mature, loyal, steady, hardworking, and responsible. The Page of Pentacles is mature beyond his years and is the type of youth that you can depend on.
Oof.
Reliable and hardworking in his studies and keen to start working from an early age. The Page of Pentacles makes a loyal, steady friend. A message about money may be received. The page may represent a youthful person who displays these qualities or may highlight the need to nurture these qualities in ourselves.
So, I mean, that feels way more like our past than our future, because we were both dorky kids who were wise beyond our years, precocious, and liked by adults, if not
I think you're taking the
classmates.
youth part a little too literally there. We could be youthful at heart. Also,
But are we? We spend a lot of time complaining about how much better things were when we were younger. That doesn't sound like a young at heart quality to me at all.
I don't know. I like to think I counterbalance that with a little silliness.
Just a touch of silliness makes up for all the curmudgeonliness in the world.
What I took from this is, like, we're reliable, and hopefully the people listening to us. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna lie. Truman and I are like heightened performances of who we really are when we record the show. So I'm not going to say we're your friend, your authentic friends, but I hope you get the vibe of hanging with friends when you're listening to us.
Yeah. Maybe you listen to us and you're thankful that your friends aren't as much like this.
And a message about money may be received. Maybe that means people are going to subscribe to our Patreon.
Oh, wow.
Over at patreon.com/gruntworkpod.
Well, Landon, this is not what tarot's about, dude. It's not about the money, except the money that you spend to get the tarot deck. It's about the feelings. It's about, like, what it tells us about ourselves. How do you feel coming out of that, looking at our past, our present, and our future? Do you feel like that's been an accurate read on us? Has it taught you something about where we want to go?
Well, I think for interpreting it on the air, yeah, I think that is interesting. I think with a little more time and doing it with self-reflection and processing it, like I would be able to interpret that a little bit more and take something a little more deeper out of it. But for a bit on the podcast to get started about talking about Nightmare Alley, I think it was just great. Okay, well, that's good. We've reviewed our own performance, and 100%, just like every performance review at my old job. So look, here. Let me just say this. Say this about the movie Nightmare Alley. Yes.
I have heard that the actress Kirstie Alley was difficult to work with, but I think that calling her a nightmare is, frankly, a little bit unfair.
How long ago did you write that?
So fucking long ago. It's been burning inside me. It was like the first note I took when the movie started. Oh man, so. That brought me more inner peace and happiness than any tarot reading ever in history.
Well, let's not keep listeners in suspense any further. Today, the machine has made us watch Nightmare Alley from 2021. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. No need to avert your eyes. No need to clutch your pearls. Behind this curtain lies the story of the hour. Don't look away, folks. It may be strange. It may be grotesque. But it's all part of the act. For just the price of admission, you can see Truman bite the head off a synopsis.
I should have printed my synopsis out because that would go down a lot easier than me having to take a chunk out of my laptop here. But the show must go on. In 1939, troubled stranger Stan Carlisle, played by Bradley Cooper, joins a traveling carnival run by the wily Clem Hoatley, played by Willem Dafoe, who offers him a home and a community. Stan befriends the carnival's fortune teller, Zena the Seer, played by Toni Collette, her alcoholic husband Pete, played by David Strathairn, and the strongman Bruno, played by Ron Perlman, and begins dating his fellow performer Molly Cahill, played by Rooney Mara. Eventually, Stan masters the cold reading tricks that Zena uses to appear to be a mind reader, and he and Molly leave the circus to go solo with his mind reading act. 2 years later, Stan is a successful, but miserable, high society fortune teller. Through this work, he meets unscrupulous psychologist Dr. Lilith Ritter, played by Cate Blanchett, the only person who recognizes that his mind reading act is a fake. Instead of exposing him, she puts him in touch with one of her clients, a wealthy man, played by Richard Jenkins, who's willing to pay a fortune to make contact with his long-dead ex-lover.
Ah, yes. Good synopsis.
Thank you. People paid for the show. I'm gonna deliver. I mean, maybe the geek doesn't feel like biting the head off a chicken every day, but he gets out there and he does it.
We got a good old-fashioned snake oil salesman story on our hands here. This was directed and co-written by Guillermo del Toro.
Yes.
With his wife, Kim Morgan.
That makes sense. I was looking up Kim Morton and just thinking, like, wow, she hasn't had a lot of other screen credits. Like, she's obviously done a lot of entertainment writing. I didn't realize that they were married. I was wondering how she came into contact with this project.
She is big in horror criticism, horror theory. She's done a lot of Talking Heads stuff in documentaries about horror.
Yeah. You got to stop saying Talking Heads stuff to refer to interviews. I'm always going to think of a different kind of stuff. Kim Morgan out there on stage with her arms flopping around and her legs going back and forth perfectly in sync.
This is based on the novel by William Lindsay Gresham. I'm not going to go through the cast who you just went through, but I will draw out the cinematographer, Dan Lawston, the production design by Tamara Deverell.
Oh my.
And the costume design by Louis Segura.
Fuck yes. And also the score by Nathan Johnson, which repeatedly made me say, is this a Carter Burwell score? But it's not. It's Nathan Johnson. So
there you go.
He pulled the old switcheroo on me.
Before we get into some box office specs, Truman, tell me your Nightmare Alley experience.
My Nightmare Alley experience was being very confused about what this movie was. To sum up the meme that I sent you, I sent Landon the Stephen Root in Office Space meme, and it just said, I was told there would be nightmares. I assumed based on the director of this movie and the kind of clips and snippets and poster that I saw for it that it was going to be a supernatural horror movie set in the world of circuses and carnivals. And and other than that, most of my knowledge of it.
Had you seen it?
I had not seen it. No, I had certainly not seen it. And I mostly knew it as one of those classic movies that you only are aware of because you see it winning a bunch of costume and production design awards at the Oscars that year. So I did not know what this movie was. I was aware of its vibe, but not really of what it was doing, and I had not seen it. Now, did you see it? The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Boom. Mind reading.
Yeah. And we'll get to this in a bit in the box office section. I did not see this in theaters. I regret that in a big way because this film is lush and operatic.
Yes.
And I think is suited, the high emotions of this movie is suited to a big screen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, coming out in 2021, kind of a difficult time for a movie to be in a theater-type setting.
There are a number of things stacked against this, but 2021, theaters were opened again.
Yeah.
And this just happened to fall on a December weekend when a new wave of COVID was hitting.
Yeah, really rowdy one, too.
In addition to coming out against Spider-Man No Way Home.
It's this thing that COVID adds to the equation where it's like, yeah, we're vaccinated, yeah, there's masks and stuff, but it's like getting out of the house to go to the movies is already just kind of enough of a lift. Then it's like, well, do I really want to risk, if I'm going to risk my health once this month, is it going to be to see like the Spider-Man movie, or is it going to be to see this like kind of hard to quantify in my head Guillermo del Toro art house looking movie? I mean, it's just like I feel like that works against you in a major way. Even if it's safe to go to theaters, if it's not super safe, is this the one you want to bet on?
I also think that question hits differently depending on who you're asking, because to me it's like, yes, it is.
Yeah, but I mean, for your garden variety moviegoer, it's like, am I going to get sick because of Nightmare Alley or because of Spider-Man?
Nightmare Alley. The problem I found was, as we'll get into in the box office specs, is it debuted low, and then theaters already suffering from the COVID hit. Like, I had 1 week to see it, and I didn't want to risk any COVID during that week. And then, by the time it got if I could see this on a Tuesday morning, like the second week drop off put it at only 10 p.m. showings, and then it's like, do I want to risk COVID and stay up until 2 in the morning to see this movie?
It is just funny that you were just 1 second ago being like, well, I'd risk COVID to see a Guillermo del Toro movie, and then you're like, well, when I had the opportunity to do that exact thing, I chose not to. So I'm not roasting anyone. We were all being safe at the time. But
yeah, exactly.
Look in the mirror.
I mean, I wasn't risking COVID for anything, but between this and Spider-Man, it would be this for me. This is 100% just right down the center lane for me.
Yes, no, totally. If it were between this and Spider-Man or staying at home, for me, it would probably be staying at home. But even saying that, as a Guillermo del Toro fan, I've enjoyed his movies. I love The Shape of Water, but I just wasn't. This didn't feel like a must see. Yeah.
To be explicit about it, I don't know if I said this. I did see this. I did not see it in the theater. I regretted that. But this is also the time when the movies were trying to recoup their box office or their money a little bit faster. So knowing it fell out of the theater faster, it was on, even though it debuted in December, I think it was on streaming services in February.
Yeah. So
I waited and watched it either on Max or on Hulu, wherever it debuted. It made its streaming debut. Is where I ended up watching it for the first time, and man, it was don't want to tip my hand, but right where I wanted it to be.
I've already read your tarot land, and I know that the card for your future is guy who liked the movie we watched this week. So I'm you don't have to be coy about it.
Yes, and listen, I know I haven't done it in a while, and I've been trying to be good about it. There's a wild piece of trivia that is Movie Memory Machine specific about this film that I'm gonna save for our final verdicts for why this was forgotten.
You haven't saved a piece of trivia until the end of the podcast in a long time?
I haven't done my patented foreshadowing.
No,
we're gonna talk about this later.
No, you literally have been doing it in this episode, saying like, oh well, later I'm gonna talk about this. I'm not
in the next section. It's in the next section.
That's still foreshadowing, Landon. Look it up in a book. Oh my God. Okay.
Let's talk about box office and budget.
Yes. Because
this film was
a sad story.
This film was released wide in the United States December 17th, 2021. It had a premiere on December 1st. But it was released by Searchlight Pictures. It's rated R. With that information, how many theaters do you think they released this into?
27 hundo. Yeah?
Ooh.
Yeah?
You overshot a little bit. You want one more take at it?
26 hundo.
You're still vastly overshooting.
If you'd said vastly, I would have acted differently. I think this Carnival game is rigged. I want my 25 cents back.
21.45.
Yeah.
I think that's still a respectable amount of theaters for an R-rated awards push movie. This is 100% like riding the coattails of The Shape of Water winning Best Picture.
No, 100%. I think that if this movie were coming out in a normal world where everyone is good and healthy, maybe they would have put it in more theaters. This might have just been kind of a reaction to the fact that every movie is doing fewer numbers, and so it's like, we're not going to spend to distribute this to as many places. Like, there also may just be theaters that don't have as many screens running because they're not staffed up to the same level.
Yeah, this just falls in, like, I think whatever the case might be, and anything could be the case during the COVID years, it's not indicative of general release strategies. So you could be right, you could be way off. I have no idea, and COVID's such a wild card.
Yeah.
How would you know?
Yeah. Hey, listeners, were you tuning into the podcast to have a good time and you're just listening to two guys talk a lot about COVID? Well, we'll probably do a little bit more of that on this episode, so sorry.
Okay, the budget was approximately $60 million. And we're going to say the speculative for this is somewhere between 20 and 40. Let's even that out at 30.
I'll buy that.
So we've got a $90 million total budget for this film. It comes in at number 5.
Oh, that's brutal. That's tough. And it's not even number 4.
Not even number 4. I want to take, I know we're already long in the tooth already, and we haven't even talked about the movie yet, but the box office numbers are just so weird to me for this weekend during this rise in the second wave of COVID.
Yeah.
I want to kind of go through them a little bit more. I won't do the whole top 10, but I'll do a number of the top 10. So, coming in at number 1 is Spider-Man No Way Home. That is released into, I like, my jaw is on the floor, 4,336 theaters.
Where's the extra 1,000 theaters coming from? I didn't know we had that many in this country. What the actual fuck? Wait, what is
I'm wondering if that's factoring in international, maybe.
Is that drive-ins? Like, were they doing more drive-in showings because of Omicron, or like?
I mean, they would drive-ins definitely count towards the number of theaters that it's released into.
But are they just like repurposed? I mean, we've already done the joke about showing it in church basements, but I don't know how you get to 4,000 otherwise.
Well, yeah. It makes, in its opening weekend, $260 million. Can you imagine what that film would have made in non-COVID times?
Probably a lot more, especially on that many screens and with all the lead-in that it had.
Well, buckle up, because the numbers that are coming down the line here are weird.
Okay, I love weird numbers. All numbers, honestly, are weird to me because of how bad I am at math.
Encanto is number 2 in its 4th week, the Pixar film. It comes in with $81 million by that time. In 4 weeks.
In 4 weeks, Encanto has made $81 million.
Yes, that is something that needs to make $60 million in the opening weekend during non-COVID times. So that number is wild to me.
But was that one that got released on streaming or on Disney Plus or something almost immediately? Because they did that with a few movies.
It's a good question.
During that time. And
I don't know.
If you've got kids at home, Encanto is like if you've got kids, period, taking them to the theater during the pandemic is going to be kind of a very fraught endeavor all around. So I feel like with a lot of kids movies, they're pushing them to streaming quickly. And I think there was one of them where it was even like they did a surcharge. It's like if you pay an extra $30, a one-time $30 fee, you get access to like the new Frozen movie or whatever that they were releasing.
So many fucking weird things during that time.
And I read a lot of people with kids online going like, this is an act of public service. Thank you, Disney, for letting me pay $30 to watch this new Pixar movie in my house and not have to take my kids out. So.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I do remember that. I don't know if it was Encanto or not, but the numbers get weirder. Shall we continue?
Yeah, let's get weirder.
Number 3 in its 2nd week, West Side Story.
Oh man, that's they're getting shanked.
Yeah, only makes $18 million in its 2nd week.
Okay, yes.
Total.
That's crazy, but that's not cool.
Then we have in its 5th week. So this is, I think, indication of like how tumultuous this specific weekend was.
Mm-hmm.
In its 5th week, coming in at number 4 is Ghostbusters Afterlife. And it, at this point, has made $117 million. So, like, in that 5-week period, you go from a strong opening weekend to an immediate drop-off and making almost nothing the following 2 or 3 weeks.
Because when the movie was released, it was like, hey, we're good, we're vaccinated. And then by a month later, it's like, hey, there's this new thing out there that is even slipperier.
Yeah, by 1 or 2 weeks later. Oof. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's why in number 5, Nightmare Alley comes in for an opening gross of only $2.8 million.
Wow. Imagine the theater experience of seeing Nightmare Alley opening weekend. Like you and maybe 1 or 2 other people in that theater very worried.
Yeah. The thing that I want to like draw out though is like the amount of money it's making per weekend. Like Nightmare Alley, like, okay, Encanto, just this weekend alone, only makes $6 million.
Mm-hmm.
West Side Story, in its 2nd weekend, only makes $3.6 million.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to compare that with the weekend box office of when we're recording this episode.
Yeah.
Demon Slayer, the movie, is out right now. Just this weekend, it grossed $70 million.
Right.
The 2nd place movie, Conjuring Last Rites, $25 million.
Mm-hmm.
Downton Abbey, the 3rd place movie, $18 million. So
Nightmare
West
Alley...
Side Story brings in $3 million. Downton Abbey, the 3rd in the TV series movies, brings in $18 million.
A Steven Spielberg remake of a very popular and acclaimed film made a fraction of what the boring TV show movie adaptation brings in now. Yeah.
So it's such an interesting weekend to release something.
Yes. Such an unfortunate weekend to release something. Yes. Because also I get the idea based on when they were shooting this and what they had to do when they were shooting this that they were sitting on it for a while being like, is now going to be a good like they were really just trying to be like, when can we release this when people will be in theaters? And they shot their shot And if they'd shot it like 6 weeks earlier, it would have been a very different story.
If this was an October release, yes, it would have, I think, really hit the mark that they were aiming for. They held out for that award season push, and it came back to bite them in the ass.
Oh man, so truly the monster in this movie is a microscopic organism that evolves pretty quickly.
All right, let's finish out this section and then go into the movie. Domestically, this film makes $11.3 million.
Ooh.
Internationally, it brings in $28.3 million for a total of $39.6 million on a $90 million budget.
That is not great, but a lot of people were losing money at that particular point in time. So
yes,
can't really hold it against them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I think we sufficiently painted out the time and place in which this was released. Shall we start talking about this thing?
Yeah, let's. I mean, I don't know. You've already been talking a lot. I don't mean that in a bad way. I basically mean I don't want to seem deficient as a co-host here, but you seem to have a lot of thoughts and a lot to say. Do you have a place you want to start?
Yeah. Well, okay, let's set the kind of tapestry of this movie. It's broken essentially into 2 or 2.5 parts.
Yeah.
You've got the carnival
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the mentalism show in the middle.
Yeah.
And then you've got the kind of the rise, the sustaining, and then the downfall.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And along that journey, there's a lot of different characters. So I think let's not go super chronologically, but like let's just take the first part, talk about the carnival, talk about the people in there, the dynamics, what is what emerges, and then we'll do the second part, the Cate Blanchett part.
Perfect. Past, present, future, just like that tarot reading.
Yep.
This movie starts out and we're following Bradley Cooper around. We see him setting fire to he dumps a body under the floorboards of an old house. He then throws a bunch of gasoline all over the room and then does something I would not do, which is he sets the room on fire while he's still standing in the room.
Yes.
What? Dude, that big brass ones. I would be walking away from the house when I do that. But that he walks away silently and then just sort of gets on a bus, rides overnight, gets off the bus, and just sort of wanders into this traveling carnival that's set up nearby.
And that opening scene is deeply important to this film, to Bradley Cooper's character. We don't get a lot from it except that imagery to start with. There's no dialogue. In fact, they go out of their way to not allow Bradley Cooper to talk for like the first 20 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, I have thoughts about that.
And then the first thing he says is like not even that like symbolic or anything.
Yes, there's all of these scenes. He gets hired at the carnival and basically invited. He gets given a day's work at the carnival by Willem Dafoe, and then after doing his day's labor is then basically invited to start traveling with the carnival and keep working with them. And he does all of this without ever saying a word to anyone, and it really put me in mind of like any given video game where you are the silent protagonist and you just walk into a town and people are like, well, hey there, stranger. Don't talk much, do you? Hey, I've got a job for you. Hey, you want another job? Hey, like just in my experience, to get work, let alone lasting work, you have to talk to people. And it seems like only in video games in the universe of this movie can you just roll in and get a job.
Now, I don't know if this is true, but this is my instinct, is that, like, that could come off very contrived, and it does.
Yes.
But it could come off way worse than it does. And I think if I had to guess, my guess is they did that through editing, knowing that they were going to do it, but actually gave Bradley Cooper something to respond with in the moment, so that, like, the direction probably was, this is your line, you're going to say it, just take an extra beat before you say it, and then in editing, they cut before he says something. Because, and I say that because this is very important, I think, to Bradley Cooper's performance in this film, where even in those moments, and why that contrivedness doesn't become like cartoony is like there is something going on in his head, something behind his eyes. In the performance, he is absorbing what the person's saying to him and formulating what his response is going to be, even if we don't hear it.
I just don't feel that from his performance. Every time the camera's on his face in these scenes, I'm just like, all I'm getting from him is like, I got a secret. And like, and he's not, I don't know. I like my takeaway is just going into this. It's like, oh, so he's mute. He doesn't speak, like some trauma or tragedy.
Yeah.
Which
and then we saw.
And, well, yeah, sure. I mean, but it seems as though he had a first-hand role in this body that he's... Usually if you're burying a body under the floorboards and setting fire to the house, it's like you're the reason that happened.
I'm going to take a second just to deviate from that to pimp our Patreon and to say that I have released an audiobook of The Telltale Heart on our Patreon. So for as little as $1 over at patreon.com/gruntworkpod, if you want to hear The Telltale Heart, which this scene really evoked to me when I was watching it, it's over there. You can go listen to me be a maniac for a minute.
You should have called it the Maniac Minute. That's an even better that's even better promotion. But so I've come into this either assuming, okay, he's mute, but then this also Bradley Cooper's not speakingness for the first 20 minutes of the movie, like I came into this movie not really understanding what it was. So I had assumed Guillermo del Toro is making this very creepy, very atmospheric movie about a 1930s carnival. Surely it is a spooky, magic, evil carnival with like monsters and supernatural stuff in it. It is the HBO series Carnival. And
you've burned one of my notes. Because while you were watching The Wire and Sopranos, I was watching Carnival.
That surprises no one. That is the most obvious thing. But so I was expecting that, like, the reason he doesn't speak is because he is a shape-shifting spirit, and that was the body of the person that he inhabited last that he's throwing away, and we're going to find this out. And so I'm waiting for like his first words to be some part like cluing into the supernatural side of the movie, and then instead he just starts talking to the circus geek when he gets loose from his cage and has to track him down. I'm kind of like, oh, okay, that didn't mean anything.
Yeah, it does kind of. It's not something that really goes anywhere. It kind of falls apart. But I mean, the fact that he's talking to the geek and the geek is the first person he speaks to, considering where the film goes at the end, is somewhat thematically appropriate. But
did you know that this is what geeks were before you watched this movie?
Oh yeah.
Was that like common knowledge? I've been called a geek a few times in my life, and I don't know how to feel about it.
The term geek has been like appropriated for, nerdlinger language, I think by middle schoolers.
Dastardly middle schoolers.
I mean, yes, I did know, just because I have a lot of friends in the live performance world, have for a very long time. I've had an interest in it myself. Yeah, I mean, Ozzy Osbourne, you can't, I think, be into metal and not come across the term geek at some point.
So, I mean, do you know any geeks, like,
besides you?
Oh, I really, boy, folks, that's the show, is watching me walk headlong into a light pole like that one. Oh, Jesus, what's the petard hoisting show? I guess I understand the appeal of every other act in this circus.
Yeah.
I guess it's just like, I don't know that the geek is worth 25 cents. I don't know if I'm getting enjoyment out of that.
Well, there's someone I could have brought on the show as a guest, I think, to illuminate this. I'm not the expert. There's lots of cool documentaries and blogs and just so much cool information on the history of carnivals, the attractions, the freak shows, which this movie isn't really lean into the freak show aspect at all, except for this geek. There is a like, as an extra at one point, just getting food from the buffet is the bearded, not the bearded lady, but like the werewolf boy.
Yeah. I mean, presumably there's a monkey girl around here somewhere too, right?
To answer your question, though, like, the appeal to it, I think, has to speak to the times in which they were living. This is 1939. War is on. The internet doesn't exist, if that needs to be said. Like, there's a morbid curiosity. What people are sitting at home, fucking reading, I don't know, some sort of erudite
Saturday
novelist.
Evening Post, yeah.
Yeah, and like, this is something that they can't see. It's exotic, it's bizarre, it's weird, it's watching a train wreck, a controlled train wreck.
I heard that during the 1918 flu pandemic, RKO Pictures charged people $30 to watch Geek shows at home so they wouldn't have to take their kids to the theater to see a Geek show, and the parents were really appreciative of that. It helped everybody get through a tough time.
But it was over the radio, so they just had to listen to it.
boy, that Foley artist really went ham. And that he stuck his whole hand into a side of ham to make the chicken head getting bitten off noise.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, it's, there wasn't as much stuff out there, and seeing a man bite the head off a live chicken is probably pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah. I also want to just backtrack for a second about the opening sequence of burying the body under the floorboards.
Yeah.
It's all done, with music and these really dramatic shots. What I like about that, and the movie comes back to it a number of times throughout the film, at not the same exact image, but multiple new pieces of context surrounding it.
Yeah.
Revealing it over time and with imagery rather than exposition. What I like about this opening scene, you're thrown into it, there's no context, and it just, to me, sets the stage for where we're at with this movie. This is going to be big, it's going to be thematic, it's going to be operatic. We're dealing with high emotions, we're dealing with, themes. This isn't going to be your, run-of-the-mill, I got to hit these bullet points in the story by page 15. I got to, I appreciate the artistry of, orienting me to how to receive the film.
Yes, this movie sets a very strong and very consistent vibe and tone right away. You know what you're getting, and everything that you're seeing is it fits into that world. It really the movie draws you in quite expertly.
Yeah, and I will say, I think one of the things that makes this film, to me, special is that this is a passion project for Guillermo del Toro. I mean, most of his films are, but
sure,
he wanted to make this right after Kronos.
Yeah.
And he was going to have Ron Perlman, who plays the strongman in this movie,
yes,
be the lead actor. And I'm like, that would have been a terrible way to go. As much as I like Ron Perlman, he's
too distinctive. He's just kind of, I wouldn't buy a guy looking like him as a fortune teller. Like, if I was an audience member at a fortune telling show,
even in 1994 when they would have made this. But so he wanted to make this film for a long time, and he specifically wanted to adapt the book. He did not want to remake the 1947 version of the film.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that really comes across in every decision that's made here. Like, there's just a little bit extra beyond the logistics of how do we pull this off. It's how do I do this with panache? How do I make this special? How do I add an extra layer to everything I'm doing here?
Yeah. You can feel the love that he has for the material in this movie, in how every shot is set up and how every scene plays out. And it's both Guillermo del Toro really caring about this, and also then, of course, it's Bradley Cooper, and we all know how much he cares about trying to win an Oscar, and him really being it's two people who are really plugged into the material and really making this thing work.
Let's talk a little bit about Bradley Cooper. We've talked about him once this season already.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. He is like we had on the Body of Lies episode, if I could remember what we talked about there, because that movie has
Did we talk about the movie Body of Lies?
About Leo's, Oscar, grasping. Bradley Cooper has the same gold in his eye.
Oh, yeah.
And what's interesting to me, though, is, like, he doesn't go and make Body of Lies.
Yeah.
To as, like, an Oscar push. He makes and produces, so he's invested in it. He's producing this movie. He's like, let's do Nightmare Alley.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make this weird fucking movie that has a niche audience, and I'm going to put in a really intricate performance and I see you're squinting on that. I think he's doing a lot in this. Whether or not it's successful is, I guess, maybe open for interpretation, but this is not a quintessential Oscar bait movie to choose to do.
Certainly not.
But he's bringing that I want an Oscar desperation to it.
he absolutely is, and it's the fact that I don't think his performance in this is bad. I think it's that I can smell the I want an Oscar desperation coming off of it, and it sort of distracts me. I don't think the character he's playing is super engaging to me. I have a hard time connecting with his character and following his through line, and I don't think the performance is kind of just a lot of brooding. I don't know. That's, and again, that's not to take away from Bradley Cooper. I just think that in these circumstances, as much as there's a lot that I like about the movie, I have a hard time plugging into it through his character, and I find myself wishing that the movie was about a different character who was making different choices.
Well, let's talk about this, and this will keep us from being chronological about the whole thing. I'll spoil the ending here. So,
yeah.
As he's, like, joining this carnival at the beginning, he engages with the geek. He shows the only compassion to anybody in this movie to the geek in a few moments. He shares a cigarette with him at one point.
Mm-hmm.
He's just very, like, enamored with and fascinated by the geek.
Yeah.
And I think it becomes clear why by the end of the film. And, like, he asks Willem Dafoe at one point, how do you get someone to do that job? Like, is he born that way? What the fuck is up with the geek? And in this just, like, incredible monologue by Willem Dafoe,
so fucking good.
Talks about the way you get someone hard on their luck, and that is a booze hound, and, like, will do anything for just a shot. Like, you do a little rope-a-dope with them and slowly draw them in. You tell them it's a temporary job, just until we find a real geek. And it's a dark, nihilistic story that Willem Dafoe tells Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, you eventually basically become their source of alcohol, then you start lacing the alcohol with opium, and then they choose to keep geeking so they can get their free booze from you. Yes,
exactly. So that's the start of this kind of underbelly of this movie. And we'll go, I think, more into thematic details and give the texture to this. But by the end of the movie, it's a rise and fall story of Bradley Cooper.
Sure.
And he doesn't drink until he starts drinking, and the drinking completely undoes everything. He finds himself in this exact situation by the end of the film where he's lost everything. He's, selling his heartfelt, souvenir watch, heirloom watch, for a single sip of, vodka. He's on hard times. He sees a traveling carnival. He goes up to, the barker, the person running the whole thing.
Tim Blake Nelson,
out of nowhere for one scene.
Jump scare. End of the movie.
Awesome.
Tim Blake Nelson, director of O.
And he, like, halfway through this scene with Tim Blake Nelson, realizes what's happening. Because Tim Blake Nelson starts enacting the very story that Willem Dafoe told earlier.
He's offering him a drink and saying, like, well, we do have one job for you,
It's just until we get a real geek. And, okay, I had, when I first saw this movie, a revelation about Bradley Cooper.
Yeah. That he should get an Oscar.
In that, I think he is a good actor.
Yeah.
That is capable of greatness.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call him a great actor, but I think he's a good actor capable of greatness.
He says that to himself in the mirror every morning and then high fives his reflection.
The final scene when Tim Blake Nelson is given the pitch and then says, "What do you think? Do you think you could do that job?" And Bradley Cooper goes through this like weird roller coaster of like crying, and it's desperate and it's regretful, and he starts laughing because he recognizes that he was kind of destined to end up in this position. And he says, "Brother, I was made for the job." Mm-hmm. And then he like laughs and then cries and then looks off camera, and then it just does a hard cut to the credits.
Yeah, and All Star by Smash Mouth starts playing. This movie would have grossed $100 million if they'd made that one simple choice.
I think that scene is one of the best performances of the last 10 years. Just that single scene. I'm not saying his whole performance in this movie, but in that moment, I'm like, holy fuck. Whatever you say about this guy's desperation for an Oscar, he's dedicated to the craft. He's dedicated to doing something and not just, side sipping his beer and doing a lot of, cell phone acting. Like, he's doing something with this movie, and I deeply appreciate it, even in the moments it doesn't fully work.
Would you say that the Academy Award is the bottle of liquor with opium in it, and doing a number of increasingly desperate, increasingly weird award bait movies are the chickens that he's biting the heads off of to get it?
Yeah. And it might even be a literal bottle of booze. We've never actually, the normie civilians can't touch the Oscars, so you might be able to screw the head off and just start downing the alcohol that's inside of it.
I prefer to think that it's full of the best maple syrup in the world. Meryl Streep has the best pancakes at her house. So look, I agree with you. I think that the geek stuff in this movie is some of the most compelling stuff. And there's a lot of compelling stuff in this movie. The movie just looks compelling. Mm-hmm. But, the geek stuff it's frightening psychologically to think about that this is a human who has gotten this low. I mean, the geek that you see him go to see, I mean, it's this emaciated, pale, almost nude man who's huddled in a corner, and they throw a chicken to him, and the crowd watches while he bites it off. They keep him in a cage. He's, just screaming incoherently. And so the notion that, yes, someone can get that low, and that his fellow people have brought him that low through alcohol, and that this is about substance and addiction, that's chilling. The conversation at the end with Tim Blake Nelson, where you see what's happening and that Bradley Cooper is getting drawn into that also is chilling. Here's my problem. Maybe I'm fucked up. I didn't really clock that alcohol was an issue for Bradley Cooper for most of the movie. At one point when he is talking to Cate Blanchett, the therapist, she offers him a drink, and he says, "No, I never drink." And they ask a little bit about that, and then there's some stuff about his dad being an alcoholic later in the movie, and then eventually, by the time he has this conversation with Cate Blanchett, we're already more than halfway into the movie. Kind of in the third act, then we see, he starts drinking again because of Cate Blanchett, but the way that I'm reading what I'm seeing on screen, it's not clear to me that the alcohol is really what makes everything fall apart from him so much as his own ego. So it just seems
it's both.
I don't feel the way that alcohol is a big part of that. The addiction plotline and the demon in the bottle plotline doesn't really start hitting for me until the last 15 minutes when he's suddenly a drunken hobo.
Okay, I'm not gonna. I want to be careful not to argue and contend with anything you're saying, but to me it's there throughout, but it's not overt. So Toni Collette, who's fucking in this movie and amazing,
she's
in
so
literally
in this movie.
Everything she exists in.
Yeah.
She offers him a drink early on, and Willem Dafoe offers him a drink early on. There are a number of touch points where he says, "No, I don't touch this stuff." Then, to him, this is kind of what I love about this movie and how it operates is it's not about alcoholism.
Sure.
It's about alcohol equals death. Because his dad was an alcoholic, and he had to kill his dad.
Right.
Which we'll learn. David Strathairn, who's in this movie and fucking amazing in everything he does and everything he exists in.
Yeah.
Is in this movie. He's an alcoholic, and Bradley Cooper accidentally kills him through alcohol.
Is it an accident? Because David Strathairn asks for liquor, and Bradley Cooper, knowing that half of the bottles that Willem Dafoe has have been laced with opium, brings him an opium bottle. Is that a mistake? Yep. Because he also wants to take his fortune-telling act.
Exactly. So, I mean, and that's intentional on the movie's behalf. It doesn't make that explicit. So it's setting up this movie is very, I don't want to call it Freudian, but like very psychological. Like it's playing on psychological, psychiatric archetypes.
Yes, there's literally an evil psychologist in the movie.
There is, yes. So, like, to me, it is about that interpretation and inviting the tarot deck. It's inviting viewers to read what's being shown and interpreting it for themselves. And so, regardless of whether or not he did it intentionally, not intentionally, alcohol equals death in that moment. Alcohol, in a different kind of way, equaled death with his father. And so alcohol eventually equals the death of his ego by the end of this movie.
Right. Okay. I mean, it is very possible that I just missed out on some cues, and my experience not picking up on a movie's subtlety is why streaming executives make movies like Damsel, where the main character explains every internal thought and revelation that's happening. If Bradley Cooper had simply said, "I don't drink because of alcoholism," and he said it a few different times, this probably all would have clicked perfectly for me.
At the same time, though, I mean, like, the movie operates on that level, but it's also not above, like, really subtle, almost jokey things as well. Because Cate Blanchett's office is, like, wood-paneled and beautiful and, like, Art Deco. It looks amazing. The set design, the production design in this movie is just so exquisite.
It's unbelievably good.
But the wood paneling of her office is made to look like ink blots.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like an art choice. It's just like the wood grain makes it look like an ink blot, and it's like, okay, you're having fun with us, and it's 2 hours into this movie. I can buy it. Oh
man, raise your hand if you noticed that and felt like the cleverest little boy in the world. State for the record that my hand is raised. Another moment of that where the movie it's almost a joke how they're laying it on is when there is a scene at one point where the geek has gotten very sick on account of geeking is not a really long-term healthy life choice to make.
Yes.
And he and Willem Dafoe are taking him to the hospital, and as they're dumping the geek's body outside the hospital gates, Willem Dafoe is going, "Hey, did you hear? That little Kraut, the one who looks like Chaplin, he just invaded Poland." which is one of my favorite ways that a movie has told me that World War II has started. Okay, but so there's just, I guess, varying degrees of subtlety there.
Yeah.
I think that maybe part of my I'm speaking to issues that I have with the movie. I think this movie is good. I just want to make that clear. I think this movie is an absolute sumptuous visual feast, and it is certainly not a bad movie. There are a lot of places where I think it doesn't live up to potential. I think there's a lot of ways that I think that it could have achieved a little higher.
Is one of them the fact that Mary Steenburgen is in it and only used for 2 scenes, and one of which she kills herself?
I mean, yes. Why would you? When I saw Mary Steenburgen's name in the opening credits, I sat bolt upright and said, "Hey now!" And then not only that you deprived me of my queen for so long, but then the entire movie isn't about Mary Steenburgen. I mean, it's almost like Guillermo del Toro just called her up and was like, "Hey, Mary, do you want to be kind of just a tragic side character of this movie who gets so convinced that she'll be reunited with her dead son in heaven that she does a murder-suicide? You only have to sit in one room." But I think that one of the things that also confused me coming in, and this may also be a window into why audiences may have had a hard time with it, is, again, I thought this movie would be supernatural, and I thought that for a very long time. There was a lot of this movie, and look, we're coming off of Cirque du Freak, a movie that is entirely about a spooky magical carnival. So I already am seeing, like, a lot of similarities, right on down to the fact that Willem Dafoe is also in this movie.
And the machine has put us into the spooky dimension, so...
We are in the spooky dimension. We're in the spooky dimension, and this movie is more psychologically thrilling, but we're not in the psychologically thrilling dimension, so...
Yes.
I was thrown.
I mean, isn't Karma being a bitch kind of spooky at times?
I mean, it is...
For how much a bitch Karma can be? To be kind of spooky?
Yes, that's true. That's true. The scariest the scariest thing of all is a petard hoisting, as I have found many times. For so much of the movie, I was always like, okay, and now this is the thing where we're gonna find out that it's all magic. This is where we find out that everything else in the carnival is carnival tricks, but the mind reading is actually real. And I keep having the Scooby-Doo thing of like, oh no, it's all just playing a trick. It's all not supernatural. That by the time I finally clocked, oh, this is just a normal movie set in a normal world. I should have just restarted the movie with that knowledge, because I'd had a lot of letdowns. You
had the experience of Richard Jenkins in this movie. Now let me set this up, and we can backtrack a little bit. But Bradley Cooper, at a certain point, it starts helping with Toni Collette and David Strathairn's act. She's a mind reader, and David Strathairn, being a drunk, helps her, cheat the audience and tell her the answers.
They have an elaborate coded phraseology where the assistant says certain things to spell out based on word keys different emphasis on words and stuff like that. And so as he's starting to work with them, he recognizes the potential power that this code could have for a new show, and he could do great things with it. And yada yada yada. David Strathairn, as we said, dies of alcohol poisoning by drinking the wrong alcohol. Bradley Cooper takes the code book. 2 years later, him and Rooney Mara from the show, who we'll get to, start their own mentalism thing for large, well-paying audiences. It's a classy affair now. It's like dinner theater, but for people in tuxedos at fancy restaurants.
And all along the way, Toni Collette, David Strathairn always say, you don't want to push it too far into making them believe that they're actually communing with the dead.
There's a moment early on when he's with Toni Collette and David Strathairn where she comes into her tent after a performance and is like, oh, someone from the show outside came up to me and was asking me to help them contact their dead aunt or something, and I told her the whole thing was an act. I explained how the trick worked, and they're all just saying, you only want to give them a little taste of it. You don't want to do, quote-unquote, the spook show, which is actually indulging them and letting them believe it's actually true.
Right. And Bradley Cooper doesn't see the problem with that.
Yeah.
He says eventually once he starts doing the show on his own, and Cate Blanchett challenges him in mid-show, he recognizes, in that moment, to maintain his power, because this movie also is about power, control, and that sort of stuff. In order to maintain his leverage over the audience and the power over this challenge from Cate Blanchett, he has to go there. But in doing so, he impresses this man that is friends with Cate Blanchett, a patient of Cate Blanchett's, who has connections.
Yeah.
He has connection. He's married to Mary Steenburgen, so they hire him to do a seance.
Yeah.
He's also friends with this massive tycoon, played by Richard Jenkins, who wants to contact his dead wife.
Yeah.
And Richard Jenkins then hires Bradley Cooper for obscene amounts of money, and Cate Blanchett is doing this grift with him because she's a psychologist. She records all of her sessions. She's providing him information that no one else knows so that he can better sell his readings with these people.
Yeah.
And so when he starts reading with Richard Jenkins, he's selling him on, I am talking to your dead wife. He's not.
Yeah.
Obviously. But Richard Jenkins is a tempestuous man. He's an impatient man. He can get what he wants. He's obscenely rich, as I said. And at a certain point, he's forcing Bradley Cooper to materialize his dead wife.
Yes.
And Bradley Cooper's like, how the fuck am I going to do this? Oh, okay, I have a soon-to-be wife that looks somewhat like his dead wife. I'm going to make her do it even though she doesn't want to.
Rooney Mara's
character. Et
character.
cetera.
And Rooney Mara's character is still internalized the message that Toni Collette gave her,
Yeah.
which is like, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be making it a spook show. This is dangerous to be doing.
She is the voice of conscience to Bradley Cooper's character that he continually ignores. And I think it's meant to represent that, but we'll cycle back to that in a second. Point being, they go through this materialization of his dead wife. In the moment, Richard Jenkins doesn't act the way that Bradley Cooper thinks he will, that he'll try to predict he will.
I have a lot of thoughts about this scene.
Me too. And in the moment, Richard Jenkins realizes, oh, this isn't supernatural. This is a trick that's being pulled over me. Thus, I bring us back to the point of, you had the experience of Richard Jenkins with this movie that Richard Jenkins had with Bradley Cooper.
Yes, I suppose this is true, except I wasn't driven to a fit of near murderous rage by learning that the movie was not, in fact, supernatural. I was mostly just kind of like, guess I'm going to have to recalibrate. But I guess that just shows the way that I was able to manage my disappointment shows that I'm getting more out of my therapy than Richard Jenkins' character is out of his.
It's better. Yeah, right.
I think that, and look, I'm not upset that the movie isn't supernatural. When I realized the movie wasn't going to be supernatural, I was actually kind of excited because it's like, okay, well, that's actually great because I think that the workings of this carnival are actually really interesting. Like, I think this non-supernatural movie that is taking a seemingly quite realistic look at the actual logistics and lives of people who work in a traveling carnival feels way more magical and exciting to me than Cirque du Freak, the movie about a magical carnival that is boring as shit. There's an actual sense of just magic to the, like, learning how they do their vaudevillian tricks and, like, seeing the way that all of these performers live and coexist is quite fun.
Yeah.
I just feel like ultimately, even within that premise, I feel like a lot of what happens and a lot of where the story goes to never lives up to the dramatic potential of the premise, and it doesn't live up to the magnitude of the kind of gothic noir-y vibe of the movie.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Give me some examples.
Happily, I can explain that to you. So, for one thing, Toni Collette, we learn about this whole concept, this kind of central tension of the movie of you can do some tricks on a stage, but if people come to you after, you need to tell them it's all fake. You can't indulge their fantasy because that leads to a dangerous place.
Right.
We learn about this from her relating to Bradley Cooper that it happened. We don't see her after the show having a desperate person come up to her and seeing her in that moment making the choice between indulging their fantasy and telling them no, it's not real.
There is a slight moment. I mean, we don't see the person coming up to them after, like as you described, but there is a moment when David Strathairn is too drunk and can't finish the trick that she has to improvise.
Yes.
And in doing so, she is like, oh, I sense your sister is with you, and her hand is on your shoulder right now. Do you feel it?
Yeah.
Like, we at least see the first part of that, and, like, again, leaning on the brilliance of this cast.
Sure.
We see in the moment, it's fleeting, but Toni Collette plays this, like, fuck, I'm going to have to go there and do this to get through this moment.
Yeah.
You feel the tension in her character going, I'm going to have to do something I don't want to do because there's no other way through this.
Yes, because her assistant who's been feeding her answers is drunk, she has to, like, go to this level. I agree, that scene is great. I think for it to pay off properly, we then need to see the next part of it where it's that person coming up to her after. We hear her talking about that happening, but we need to see the person coming up and see the emotional interplay between the two of them, even if it's not the dialogue, if it's just Bradley Cooper watching that exchange, seeing the way she looks as she tells her, no, this is not real, you need to go home, don't worry about this. I think that more effectively sets up the emotional stakes for people of what this work that they do means and what it leads to than us kind of hearing it secondhand from her.
It's interesting because it is like, this movie is everything that happens, everything that we see, it revolves around Bradley Cooper.
Yes.
I can't 100% think of a scene that he's not in offhand, but I'm just thinking this movie clocks in at 2.5 hours. It's the longest movie we've ever done.
Yeah.
And if you're going to edit a scene out, like, I think that would be something that would hit the editing floor pretty quickly. I don't disagree with you, but, you know, having that and then having her explain why she didn't want to do that or why she had to give away the trick to Bradley Cooper, it becomes a little redundant. But your point is well taken, and I agree with you. Seeing a more emotional hook to why that is the way it is, why she says, not to do it, would be more effective. But I think I'm personally willing to have the concession of moving forward in the story.
Yeah, no, and concessions are a huge part of the business of a carnival. This movie is too long. I'm gonna say I don't think this movie needed to be 2.5 hours long. Again, I like the movie. I'm picking up most of what it's putting down. I think there are a lot of editing choices that could have been made to things that are here that would have brought down the runtime a little bit. And I think that that moments like that would have been appreciated.
And I think, just to kind of illuminate where I'm coming at this movie,
sure,
I would have watched a 4-hour cut of this movie easily.
Not surprised. Look, but
that's me. It's highlighting my taste, my interests, and where I'm coming from. So, like, I'm also not super unbiased about this.
No, of course. I mean, I also think, like, watching this, I was really just, when he leaves the carnival and he starts doing the solo act, I was bummed. I like the movie a lot more when they're at the carnival, and I found myself thinking, this movie could really just be, what if Boogie Nights was a carnival in the 30s and we just follow an ensemble cast through a few years in a traveling carnival and, like, what goes on in their lives? Fuck yeah, man, sign me up. That shit's great. Yeah, well,
I'd watch that. Go watch it.
Well, half of that movie is this movie. So, and the studios already know that it didn't make money. So I'm not gonna have a hard time selling that. But then also, I mean, just also to this point, I mean, so much of this movie is about, the performance and drawing people in and kind of building this illusion and indulging their fantasy. And he has all of these scenes with, well, he's doing all of this work with Richard Jenkins, but I feel like the movie kind of yadas through a lot of the, okay, yes, I'm going to be your personal soothsayer for a fee of $10,000 per session. I'm going to reach through the veil and contact your ex-wife who died because of a botched abortion that you forced her to get. Like, there's not really a lot of scenes of the two of them one-on-one doing this. We don't get a lot of him having to, like, kind of modify and work on his performance for an audience of one who is far more interactive with him than he's used to. And so there's that. And then the final bit, kind of the climax of the movie is, okay, this rich, powerful guy wants me to materialize his ex-wife for him, and I need to make that happen. Oh, my girlfriend looks a lot like the girl who died. I'll have her put on a dress and stand kind of at a distance in the garden, and I'll try to, like, just, and he'll see her at a distance and think that that's her. And it's just like, that plan is pretty half-baked, I'm gonna say. That is not a good plan.
Yeah, agreed.
And then also, the whole thing of it is that she'll get into the garden. Well, how is she able to get onto the grounds? Like, there's not any, like, it's not me, like, trying to poke holes in logic. It's like, if the movie dedicated time to, okay, here's the plan we're going to enact. Here's how you're going to get onto the like, it doesn't seem like
that's there though.
She drives up next door and just walks through a back gate.
This is the thing with this movie is, like, on one level, it's very economic in giving, like, crucial points through kind of almost non-moments.
Yeah.
That's its strength and its weakness, because like I think by seeing him throughout this movie doing these different cons, doing these different readings, having like always an angle on something, you kind of know his mind is working 3 steps ahead.
Yeah.
There is a moment when he drives his car around, he's looking around the grounds. How do people get into this place? Okay, there's a gate, and he like walks over to it and he examines the lock, and like,
yes, you're right.
It's enough for you
right.
to go, okay, he knows what he's doing. But there's no dialogue about that.
Fair.
The shot is all of 15 seconds. It's easy to like let your brain just, forget it.
No, he should have just said, the lock. This lock holds the gate shut. I should pick the lock so my girlfriend can sneak in. That's what I'll do. Then this would have landed. You're totally right. That's on me. I think the broader thing I'm speaking to is that this like big hoax that this is the culmination of like the spook show getting out of control, the thing he's not supposed to do. I would have liked to have just seen greater investment and like the lengths that he's going to for this. Because also, okay, I'm trying to convince this guy that his dead wife is materialized through magic and sorcery. It would have been cool if he used some of the carnival tricks, like, I don't know, like a smoke bomb or like some kind of light setup or something because instead it's just her standing there and there's not any like other artistry that's been brought to it.
That's fair. And there's even like setup for that early on, because Rooney Mara is playing like the electric girl in the carnival.
Not the monkey
She
girl.
takes, a jolt of energy, and like he sees her act and says, we could do this much better. He's also a sketch artist, and it's like, Guillermo, okay, you maybe keep that to yourself.
When it's a sketch, he doesn't do sketch comedy at UCB. He sketches things very well.
He has a sketchbook, and he's incredibly good at sketching. And I was like, at a certain point, I'm like, why are you working in a carnival? You could be doing this professionally. And then the second I had that thought, Toni Collette's like, wow, you could get paid for that. And I'm like, okay, at least the movie addresses that.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's thinking about Rooney Mara, and he's drawing up like a design for a electric chair, so that she can amp up the drama of her show. And he kind of revolutionizes her show by like giving him the sizzle, right? Before, she's just like touching 2 things and letting a bolt go through her. Now he's like, we're going to put you in an electric chair. You're going to be strapped in. We're going to have this guy, wear an executioner hood. We've got this big nonsensical wheel going behind you, and he's going to throw the lever, and you're going to get the electric like he's building a story out of it, as opposed to her just like taking the shock.
Yes,
that is the level of production and thought that is missing from that moment, and I totally agree with you.
Yes, and I think that's a great example. Okay, first, also, this really struck me during that scene where he's like coming to her with the sketchbook and all these ideas for how they can plus up her act to make it more dramatically interesting. If Bradley Cooper was in a carnival, he would totally do shit like that. It's just like the most Bradley Cooper move, is he would be trying to help I want to get the Academy Award of being in the circus, whatever that is. I really loved that scene. I totally agree. I love that scene where it's like, oh, he has this sense of showmanship, and that's what he's bringing, and he thinks that he can one-up Toni Collette's show, and I liked seeing that come together, and I feel like that falls apart later in the movie. I wanted to see him applying that showmanship and being consumed by it later on down the line.
Okay, so I think that's totally valid. I'll just point to my own, like, I'm biased towards this movie, so I accept literally everything. But
sure,
what I think this movie's doing is like, the entire carnival portion is setting up. It is all set up. It's all like giving him information, setting up moral questions that in the second half of the movie is going to have to show us the decisions he makes, knowing the moral implications that we've been taught in the first part of the movie. So I think, to your point, what it does start to like skip along the surface of the story a bit in the second half, because it is more interested in the decision making he's doing rather than the production or like how he's being manipulated by Cate Blanchett. Like, there's just it becomes a little bit less about the story, a little less about the sizzle, and more about, okay, we just need to show the buildup of the consequences of his karma. So with the Richard Jenkins thing, yeah, I think like this could have been an awesome miniseries on HBO.
Yeah.
And really dive into that stuff. You know what? Keep Guillermo as creative producer, and then get the creative team for Perry Mason to do it.
Yeah. Very, very, all kinds of just mid-century goodness poured over every moment of the show.
Exactly. Yeah, because once you introduce you set the moral base, and now it's like the second half of the film is playing with it. You've got him with Richard Jenkins, and you got him with Mary Steenburgen, and like crossing those moral thresholds that Toni Collette and people with, a moral compass wouldn't do. But then you've got the themes you're grappling with, like, is it him making those choices?
Yeah.
Did he make those choices early on? Were they baked into his character? Is he being manipulated? Who has power? Who has control? I think that's a big component. That's like the power control part of this movie starts halfway through. It starts with the Cate Blanchett thing, and it is kind of like hitting the reset button, and you don't have an hour of the movie to set that up, and so you're setting up and paying off simultaneously.
Yes, the movie kind of becomes a different thing about an hour in a way that is very interesting and that I'm into, but it just doesn't really feel like it is necessarily all of a piece with the first half of the movie. And there's even a point when, like, Ron Perlman and Toni Collette show up and visit them in their new lives, and kind of like, oh, it's those people from that other movie I was watching an hour ago. I missed you guys.
I think that's a good point to start talking about Rooney Mara.
Yes.
Because she, as I said, is kind of the moral compass. She's the through line from the carnival into his new life. And I'm curious what before I go into my thoughts here, what is your take on Rooney Mara in general and in this movie, her character in this movie?
I'm mainly familiar with her from her role on House of Cards.
That's Kate Mara. That's her sister.
That's Kate Mara? Well, then I'm not really familiar with her at all, I suppose. No, let me just look. Let's see. Oh, well, okay, she was in Her, obviously. Although I don't remember who she played.
Social Network.
Right. Is she his girlfriend at the very beginning who they have the argument with? Right. Yes. Okay, well, I liked her in that. I haven't seen a lot of Rooney Mara movies, because she was also in Dragon Tattoo, which I did not see.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Fincher version, yep.
Yeah. As we can see, I've shown my entire ass about this. I don't know much about Rooney Mara at all.
Okay. Well, then, that's great. You are coming in with a fresh take of her performance here and her character here. What's your impression of, her whole deal here?
I mean, I'm not... I don't get a strong feeling off of her character in this movie. I feel like she's kind of underserved. I think the movie spends too much time on Bradley Cooper and not enough time on her. I feel her resistance to what Bradley Cooper is doing and what's going on, but it just seems like so much of her role in this, like, I don't have a lot of sense of her character outside of her relationship with Bradley Cooper. I don't get this sense of how what led her to a life of performing, because she seems like a pretty shy person, and she also does not speak for a whole lot of the early scenes in the movie.
Yeah. Her dad was in the carnival before her.
Right, her dad was in the carnival before, and now kind of her surrogate parents are Toni Collette and especially Ron Perlman, who's very protective of her.
A great change, because when I first went into this movie knowing the original movie, she kind of has a romantic fling with the strongman in the previous movie. And the second that this one started, I'm like, that is like a 30-year age difference.
Yes,
I don't feel super comfortable with that.
I like
it's not romantic at all. But.
Yeah, it's very just like protective, loving dad vibe, which is it's very sweet. Okay, so fair.
It is.
She came up in the circus through her dad, but like, I guess I also don't know, like, how does she feel? Like, she had her own act, Electric, Girl, and that now, and Bradley Cooper proposes to her and is like, let's run away together, we can have our own act. And then she's basically playing second banana to him. And a lot of her unhappiness in the later parts of the movie are more related to, like, Bradley Cooper pulling away from her than how does she feel about her, like, her role in the thing or her agency over her performance, which is, I'm not necessarily even complaining. I just feel like I don't have a very good sense of her character outside of I'm unhappy about my relationship with Bradley Cooper right now.
Yeah, I'll admit I struggled with the Rooney Mara character in this movie, both the first time I watched it and the subsequent views. I've kind of done a 360, a 180. I've turned upside down. I've flipped all around.
Those are two, like a 360 and a 180 are two very different things. Like a 180.
I know. That's why. That's the point I'm making. Is like I've gone every which direction with this character.
Yeah.
On one hand, I'm like, oh, she and Guillermo are trying to like harken back to the leading ladies of the 1940s.
Yeah. And
really try to capture that vibe where the woman is really not subservient, though a little bit of that, but subsequent to the male character. And I'm like, I don't love that. But then I'm like, no, she's here to serve a very specific purpose that no one else does in being the kind of moral background and backbone of this movie. She's there to contrast every decision that Bradley Cooper is making. I think I'd have a much bigger problem with her character if she didn't have the bathroom scene.
Yeah.
Where she's like, fuck this, I'm not going to do this. I can't watch you kill yourself. I can't watch you, undermine your talent and bring everything to this deplorable, amoral place. I can't do it anymore. I'm going back to the carnival. She leaves him this note. He catches her at the train station, and then they just have this massive argument where she bursts into the men's room without giving a shit and just, like, starts telling him off. And it's a little bit out of character up to that point, but at the same time, I'm like, it's something that was needed, I think, on a story level to get across.
Yeah.
Both in terms of the moral contrast to Bradley Cooper and also as a moment of strength for her character, which was very much needed.
Yeah, some kind of agency in her trying to push back with something. Yeah. I don't necessarily mind her being in this subordinate role to Bradley Cooper and following his lead throughout, because it's like, she hasn't really been in any relationships with people, so, and he's he's taken her outside of her normal environment, like she's... Like, she doesn't know the ways of the world, really, without him, and also just, it's the 40s. I think, it's just, I wanted to get even more of just who it was inside her.
And the other thing that kind of brought me around on the character is that he doesn't really have feelings for her.
Yeah.
Like, she's another mark in his con. It's another performance he's doing because he sees the value he can get out of her. This is what she contributes to my show. When it comes to Richard Jenkins, she's the key to making this thing happen. And so he's conning her just as much as he's conning Richard Jenkins, just as much as he's conning himself.
Yes.
And, like, it's intentionally putting her in kind of a victim role with intention. And to me, it's still a little, like, is there another way to have done this? I'm not sure, but I've come around on it. I accept it for what it is, but it is still a little the only part of the movie I'm like, interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you speak about one of the other leading ladies in this film. Can we talk about Cate Blanchett?
Oh my God, Cate Blanchett.
Yes. Is it Blanchett or Blanchett?
I had a whole... I did a short film so many years ago where I did a whole riff about that. I don't know.
Wow, even after all of that study and backstory and lore, you still don't know. Wow. Well, hey, teach the controversy.
I say both. I do it both ways, depending on how classy I feel.
Well, I think I'm always happy to see her in a movie. I'm like I don't know, how do you feel about her character in this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that mirror. I don't know why.
I don't know.
I felt like I walked into a funhouse and suddenly my own reaction was distorted, and I saw the horrible, ugly reality of who I am.
Here, Landon, I'm going to show you how the fucked up warped mirror works, so you don't think that this is a spook show and that you're actually getting a terrible vision of your future.
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts here. Her character, I think, is very well calibrated to this type of film.
Yes.
She knows this isn't it's a layered performance, but it's not like I need to put together a highly researched character study of a person.
Yeah.
It's, I am playing these themes in this operatic type of movie. How do I best bring forth the vibe of, an evocative 1940s noir-ish psychodrama about control and manipulation, and be sexy and be scary and be sterile and standoffish all at the same time. And Cate Blanchett's the one to do it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a role that, just like Bradley Cooper says at the end of this movie, she's fucking made for this.
Yes.
I can't picture another actor taking on this role. There are other icy blondes out there that could have tried this, but there's something about the power that Cate Blanchett brings that just makes it work.
I could see Nicole Kidman doing this very well, but I've also been watching a lot of her walking into a theater and talking frostily about how good movies are. So maybe I'm just...
No.
She seems so at a remove in that.
Yeah.
Like, I could see her being an evil therapist. I do... What I like is that, because this movie is so much a film noir movie, and it is both a tribute to them and wholeheartedly a noir film. And I love that kind of the femme fatale in this is a therapist. That's just a very fun... I guess this is based on a book for the 40s. Not when I was watching it and not knowing it was a book from like 1946, I was like, oh, what a fun 21st century twist that the femme fatale is actually a mental health professional. But is that it is a psychologist in the book as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. This book was written in 1946. It's a fucking fantastic book. I read it earlier this year. And I think, without being an expert on this at all, to me, like, you're talking about a story that's coming out right after the post-war. Psychology is on the rise as all these troops are coming back, and like there's a lot of psychological shit going on with people. And I think there's a big distrust of psychology at the time, and a big underpinning of the book, whether intended or not, is the fear of the mind, the fear of psychology, the fear of motivations.
Well, and I really like that because it positions them as foils, that they're both kind of selling what, at least on the surface, are two different kinds of bullshit, or the same bullshit sold two different ways, where it's either, I'm telling you what you want to hear about yourself by claiming that I'm in connection with the spirit realm, or I'm telling you what you want to hear about yourself based on psychological principles.
Or you could, I think the contrast to that is like, I'm telling you what you don't want to know about yourself.
True.
In Cate Blanchett's point,
true,
because she's pulling out all this stuff for Bradley Cooper, confronting the issues of his father and men in general, while Bradley Cooper is very much telling people what they want to hear, even though it's bullshit.
Yeah.
So like, hers is the real stuff, but it's going to help you eventually. His is, I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, and it's going to harm you eventually.
Sure. Of course, she eventually, she winds up telling Bradley Cooper exactly what he wants to hear so that she can gradually con him over the course of the movie. And, she sets him up with this rich guy, Richard Jenkins, and then he's getting paid these enormous sums of money to have these one-on-one sessions with Richard Jenkins to, like, try and get in contact with his dead wife. And Bradley Cooper, I'm going to say inexplicably, is then handing all of the money to Cate Blanchett to keep in a safe in her office, And then
Yes.
at the end of the movie, when she gives him the money back as he's walking out, he looks and realizes, oh, it's all just $1 bills. She's like faked it and stolen almost everything, and it's like she's betrayed him. And it's a moment for me where I'm like, okay, Bradley Cooper, if you're such a good, like, kind of huckster con man, Carney type, couldn't you have seen that coming? Couldn't you have known not to keep your bag in someone else's location?
I mean, that is the point. And to everything you've said about this latter half of the movie, it's like both to your point is like the production he does for Richard Jenkins doesn't work because he's distracted. He's pushing too far and not paying attention to the details. With her, he's trusting too much and he's going against his instincts. Now, but to your credit, like, the movie doesn't show. It's more interested in watching us make his decisions than showing us his overlooking those things because he started to drink or because of, X, Y, and Z. I think one of the things where I'm constantly struggling with this movie, and I don't mean to correct you about one little detail. It's pretty important.
Sure.
In regards to, like, how this ending unfolds. It's very explicit. She's like, he cannot know that you and I are working together.
No, yeah, absolutely.
She isn't the one that turned him on to Richard Jenkins. Her friend is like a socialite, and the guy who's married to Mary Steenburgen, he's the one that turns him on to Richard Jenkins, and Cate Blanchett is the one providing Bradley Cooper with the information about Richard Jenkins because Richard Jenkins uses her as a therapist. So there's this little bit of hidden danger of and trust between them where she's conning him into thinking they're both con artists, but she's really setting him up to fail and eventually see his downfall. The part that falls apart for me is I don't know why.
And I mean, and I guess I should just be okay with living in that ambiguity, but that is kind of another thing about Cate Blanchett's character. I never fully get, like, why she seems like she's already doing pretty good. She already seems pretty rich.
Yeah.
I don't know why she wants to run this long con, and even if, like, and even if it's just a factor of, like, there's never enough, it's about power, it's about control. I guess I just don't see enough of that in her or get enough time with her to get why she's decided to do this thing that's destroying the protagonist.
It is peculiar because her character introduction happens in the middle of a performance, and right from the get-go, she's like, this dude's a phony, I'm going to call him out, and, Rooney Mara comes over to her mid-performance and is going to do this, like, what's in my handbag sort of deal as Bradley Cooper's wearing a blindfold, and Cate Blanchett says, you can stop talking, girl, I'll handle it from here.
Yeah.
And so that, because she can... she recognizes that Rooney Mara is doing the vocal, coding.
Yeah, coded phrases, yeah.
Yeah. And so then Bradley Cooper, it's an immediate challenge to Bradley Cooper in the moment. And, we don't really know why it bothers her so much.
Yes.
Why this is, like, why does she dig her heels in the sand for this? And it's the thing we don't learn over the course of the rest of the film. So I don't fully ever really get why she is into it, except for, like, very fleeting, like, images, or I guess fleeting glimpses into her past. The way that she's bringing out Bradley Cooper's backstory with his father, as we learn, the guy that he buried under the floorboards and then set aflame was his father, and we thought, oh, maybe this could be a tragic backstory, but no, turns out his father was a drunken asshole, and in his final moments as he was dying on the bed, Bradley Cooper opened the window to a wintry night, stole his blanket from his, shivering body, wrapped it around his shoulders, and then watched his dad freeze to death.
Yeah.
Like, fucking brutal.
And that dude needs therapy, honestly.
Well, he started it, but you got to choose your therapist wisely, because she starts to weaponize that as a moment of control to slowly make him start drinking. She introduces this concept of, like, he rejects the first drink she offers him the first time they meet, but later on, once she's started to pull apart, well, why is alcohol a problem for you? And once she earns his trust and they start going down this con, he's giving her the money and like they're in it together in his mind. She pours him a drink knowing he's on the hook the way that he gets people on the hook, hands it to him, and he downs it in a moment that becomes the beginning of his downfall. But there are moments too when he's like, you and I are the same. We can identify a mark and we can read people. And he pulls open her shirt at one point and you see these scars on her chest. And you get like, you don't get her backstory. He gives her a read. And he's like, this is the type of person you are. You got mommy issues. You know, that's why you carry a gun. You want to be classy, but you don't want to be, you know, pinned down. You like to go out, but you don't like to be told where to go, etc., etc. He gives this read of her, but the story isn't interested in telling us if that's right.
Yeah.
We never actually give her saying, okay, you got me, or we don't get like a flashback into her backstory. It to its credit and detriment, it puts it on us to interpret, is he correct about this? Or is it complete bullshit and we'll never know her concealed reasons for wanting to take him down?
Yeah. The movie leaves a lot of things open-ended, but somehow with the way they're presented, you almost look at them and feel like, well, wait, am I supposed to know what that means? Like, it doesn't... Somehow the ambiguity doesn't sell or land properly for me at all times. But also, I guess what I guess I'm basically saying is you need to be ambiguous in a more clear way, which is not not how it works. So yeah. I don't know.
This is one of those things where it's like it's clearly a choice and it's trying to do something as opposed to like being ambiguous or trying to make things overly clear because a studio exec thought we were dumb.
Yeah.
You know, or like didn't want something in there, so it's like get rid of that. But then like remnants of stuff are, you know, stay behind and you're like, what was that about?
Yeah.
So like I appreciate the intentionality there, even if it doesn't fully work at all times.
Yeah. I mean, yes, even when the movie's not working, it looks really good and the performances are really great. And the movie, even when the movie is fumbling the ball, it's not fumbling it nearly as badly as a lot of movies.
I think one of the things we kind of overlooked with this, and as I just alluded to, is his ability to read people. And not like in a supernatural way, but like it's one of his innate talents as a kind of defense mechanism. As is it Willem Dafoe? Someone in this movie says, "I know your type." Oh, it's Colt. The bodyguard to Richard Jenkins.
Right, yes.
I can't remember his last name.
Yeah.
The guy from Mindhunter.
Yeah.
He says, I know your type. You got to stay one step ahead. You know, you had a shitty upbringing, and so you got to stay one step ahead of the person who's going to harm you. And so you get good at reading, you know, people. You get good at reading the room.
That I knew I recognized that actor from somewhere. He's the guy from Mindhunter, of course. Also ironic that that Bradley Cooper is hunting mines or hunting through mines or pretending to hunt mines in this movie. Yes.
I will say, David Fincher directing this movie, I want nothing to do with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe I would like it more if it was directed by David Fincher.
Hey.
Maybe he would have honed in a little bit. He would have put in a voiceover or something to explain all of the little twists and turns that eluded me. I guess Bradley Cooper, I get caught up a little bit in the land between Bradley Cooper is very good at reading people, and then I don't know that I buy that anyone is this good at reading people without it being a supernatural thing. Like, kind of one of the big moments is when Cate Blanchett first confronts him at this fortune-telling show he's doing at the fancy restaurant, and she asks, you know, what's in my purse? And he says, it's a nickel-plated pistol with a pearl handle on it. And she opens the purse, and yes, she pulls out a gun, and everyone oohs and ahs. No one is a little freaked out that this lady brought a gun to a public place, whatever, it was the 40s. But then he later explains this whole thing about how, like, I could tell that the purse was heavy, and the way that your hand was next to the purse, and because you're clearly a single woman, because you weren't here with a partner, that means that you would be worried.
You didn't have a ring, like, your elbow was tucked in a certain way, which meant that the purse was heavy. Yeah.
And then purse guns are, like, nickel and pearl are
he reads her deeper, saying, you seem the type that, like, you want to protect yourself, but you also think you're classy, and so you're gonna go with something that's a little pretty, therefore the pearl handle and nickel plated. Yeah.
I just don't I don't buy that. I'm sorry. I don't, like, that's just, it's like, that worked out really well for you because you're the main character in the movie, but it's like, there's a certain level of the kind of cold reading stuff that they do in this movie where it's like, that's very clever. Okay, I understand how in the real world that would work. And what he does here, it's like, you just, like, threw a dart from a million miles away and just happened to hit the bullseye. Like, it's what, like, maybe her purse was heavy because she had, like, I don't know, like a bunch of lifesavers in there or something, and you look like a piece of shit if you go, it's got a gun, and she just pulls out like 15 bags of lifesavers. I'm sorry.
Well, he does something in that scene that I'm like, oh, I want to just start doing that in business meetings, where I'm like, oops, I made a point that I can't back up. I'm just gonna faint now.
Yeah.
And show's over.
Yeah. That's.
But I buy his read on her more than I buy the, like, introduction to his skills at reading people, which is earlier in the movie. There's a scene where he is where the carnival is going to be shut down by the police.
Okay, I'm glad we're talking about this
scene.
Scene.
Yeah, he has to read the police officer who is about to shut it down. Like, there's gonna be arrests. They're gonna arrest Rooney Mara for public indecency because of the outfit she's wearing, and, like, shit's about to go down. He's not the type of cop that can be bribed.
Yeah.
And, like, this is gonna end bad. And so his skills come to the forefront, and he, like, takes the police officer, the sheriff, aside and starts doing a read.
Yeah. He's, like, looked at his, he's able to, like, oh, you were sickly as a child, and, there was someone important to you that you lost as your mother or something, and all of this, he later explains to Willem Dafoe. It's like, he saw that the cop had, like, a lift in one of his shoes, which meant that, he must have had polio and as a kid because one of his legs was deformed, and he kind of, like, explains how all of that stuff was able to come out.
Yeah. But that's the scene where it's like, and played by character actor Jim Beaver, by the way. Deadwood.
Yes. Gotta love him.
The lengths he goes to in that, I don't buy as much as he does with Cate Blanchett, because he's like, at one point he looks at the warrant to shut the place down, gets the guy's name, sees that he's wearing something around his neck, and he kind of just surmises, everyone like him is a little superstitious and always has some sort of souvenir on their body. And once he's telling the story, like, regaling it to Willem Dafoe and the entire carnival after the fact, and he's like, and I just got a gut feeling that someone named Mary was in his life, and wouldn't you know it, it was his mother.
Yeah.
And it's like, that part I was like, okay, that you're stretching with a little bit.
This is, again, is part of why I was on the hook so long thinking it would be magical, because it's like, the ways that he's able to get these reads are not, there's in no way, I almost feel like he's like, the con that he's putting over on us is that he's actually magical and he's pretending to be a regular dude. Because, like, I kept expecting for someone to take him aside and be like, I'm a fake fortune teller. I know all the tricks. There's no way you can get to that level of depth with the tricks. What do you actually know? Yeah. And then he opens his skull up and there's, like, an alien inside or something. And the alien's name is Nightmare Alley, and that's why the movie's called what it is.
The new Toxic Avenger, when the guy with the big chicken mask gets his head knocked off.
What a great...
And you just see it's a guy with a tiny little head in there.
Spoiler alert, now I guess I don't have to see the new Toxic Avenger.
There's one more part, kind of area I want to talk about.
Yes.
But, I don't know, do you have any odds and ends that we should go into here?
Well, look, I'm really glad you brought up the sheriff, because the sheriff scene was important to me. Like, watching this movie set in a 1940s carnival with all these really distinctive-looking folks walking around, I was thinking, this is a very Brock Smithian movie. This is the kind of movie that my favorite character actor of all time, Roy Brocksmith, from Lightning Jack and from Road to Wellville, Total Recall, Hudsucker Proxy, an episode of Golden
Bill
Girls.
and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He's great. He's my bro. He would completely be in this movie if he had not been dead for about 25 years. I think Roy Brocksmith as the sheriff in this movie, to take nothing away from Jim Beaver, he would be perfect for it because he's the sort of officious little twerp who'd kind of march in and be like, "Oh, you're not gonna do a Nightmare Alley in my county, no sir. We're good, honest people here. You get right out with your carnival." And then seeing him get worked over, that is the role Roy Brocksmith was born to play.
It is his Geek. Unfortunately, he passed long before this movie existed.
It is a tragedy.
Made in 1994, when Guillermo del Toro originally wanted to, 100%, it would have been Roy Brocksmith.
He would have played, if it was made in 1994, Roy Brocksmith's biggest year as an actor when he was in 5 different movies, including Lightning Jack, Road to Wellville, and Hudsucker Proxy. It would have been great. They would have built a statue of him. But also, follow up. I could also see Roy Brocksmith playing Willem Dafoe's role in this, not to take anything from Willem Dafoe, who, as you know, is captivating. We love him. He's great in this.
Yes.
But I could see Roy Brocksmith playing him with kind of the swagger that he has as that guy in Total Recall, where he's very, very rapid-fire dialogue and very assertive and kind of this, odious, manipulative little carnival tyrant. I could see him being really good in that role, too.
It is easier for me to envision when he's doing it opposite Ron Perlman than it is in this grand production with Bradley Cooper and the cinematography that we have. Yeah, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
If you give me the 1994 version of that, and I'll greenlight it.
Now, if the 1994 version of this probably would not look as good as this one does, unless
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, have you seen Kronos? It's pretty good looking.
I mean, do you think they'd give him the money to just build gigantic, massive sets?
Well, I don't know the exact reason why they never moved forward with Nightmare Alley at that time.
I mean, development hell is a fearsome mistress.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he didn't do. So okay, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to remember what his first American movie was Mimic, but I can't remember where that fell. I think that's late 90s. So I think, did he do Devil's Backbone before then? I don't know. Doesn't matter really, but it wouldn't look like this, but it would still look pretty dang good.
Yeah. No, I'm sure. I mean, I trust our boy to do to do well with the tools that he's got.
I brought this up in the Hotel Artemis episode, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on the depiction of violence and gore in this movie, because I'm gonna say it's harsh, but it's not. I think it's set up well. I mean, especially with the first shot being Bradley Cooper burying and burning a body. Like, you can't say it didn't set the stage. Plus, Guillermo del Toro has done pretty intense violence in his movies.
Yeah, this is less gruesome than most other Guillermo del Toro movies I've seen.
Yeah, but it's very concentrated at the end. Bradley Cooper gets his ear shot off.
Yeah.
He busts Richard Jenkins' face open to the fact that his nose has gone up into his skull.
He runs over the bodyguard.
Yeah, and to the point where he almost decapitates him with the front bumper. And you see everything. It's one of those where it's you see the caved in face.
Yes.
So, do you feel like that is appropriate here? Does it take away anything? Does it have the intended shock effect? Is it gratuitous? What's your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's appropriate and applicable. I think both because it's especially coming in at the end, it is really these violent delights have violent ends. He's been warned the whole time, don't tell people that you're actually talking to the dead. Yeah. And it's look, you had to murder 2 people to get out of this thing with your life. Looks pretty fucking terrible. Wish you hadn't done that thing we told you not to do.
Yeah.
And also, it's very of a piece with this world where it's the guy we keep locked in a cage who's a feral beast. Oh yeah, we turned him into that with opium-laced whiskey. It's like, yeah, that tracks. I believe that this is a world full of brutality and grossness, and when things get to that point, yeah, the movie's gonna shove your face in it. I mean, do you feel differently? Do you feel like it's too gratuitous?
Well, it's interesting because like I don't think it's gratuitous. It's definitely extreme, but I think it's employed well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would be different if the violence started, in the carnival section where you would maybe expect it. So the juxtaposition of it happening when he's, at the top of his game with all of his money and he's on the grounds of this mansion and all the austerity of, the Cate Blanchett story. It's a good juxtaposition to really show the violent downfall he's having. But conversely, like, he shows all of the gratuitous violence with Bradley Cooper. Mary Steenburgen has a very shocking moment, but we don't see, like, the disgusting brain splatter as she blows her brains out. Like, it cuts very quickly when she puts the gun to her face, and it's just like a quick white flash, and you don't expect it.
Yeah,
but you don't see the violence there. He saves that for showing the grossness and the after effects of the brutality in Bradley Cooper's story.
Yeah, this is true. Mary Steenburgen and her husband, her character's husband, not Ted Danson, they're the first high society couple who he meets through Cate Blanchett, and he sells them this lie about being able to contact their son in the afterlife, and then Mary Steenburgen takes it too literally and does a murder-suicide as a result. Yeah, I guess that's but maybe it's just also maybe he cuts away from the gratuitous violence there, so the ending will come as more of a shock and it will hit harder.
True.
Much like the bumper of the car hits pretty hard in that dude from Manhunter's face.
But also, I do think there is a little bit of a sophistication to it because, like, there's nothing more we would gain as audience members to see the violence in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
That scene is one of the few scenes in the film that Bradley Cooper isn't in.
It feels almost weird in that regard.
At the same time, it's to show us... I mean, it still entirely revolves around him because it's to show us the brutal ends that his, amorality can have.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we would learn anything more by seeing the grotesqueness of, the gore in that moment. The way that it really hits us when we see the gore when he has to kill Richard Jenkins with his own hands.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it really speaks to the desperation of that moment and the lengths that he's willing to go to at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think something that sometimes catches people off guard when they go into a Del Toro movie, where it's like, I remember the first time I saw Pan's Labyrinth, and it was just like sick to my stomach at watching the bad general bash the guy's face in. Like, it unnerved me so much.
The Shape of Water, I mean, with dude's fingers that are like have been reattached poorly and that eventually come off as he goes crazier, and this movie won Best Picture. He has a good way of doing gross stuff in a highbrow way. Gotta love it. Gotta take my hat off to
him. At the same time, though, I love that he's not pretentious. Like,
oh no,
this is all coming from from passion and like everything he does. Like, this is a very classy movie.
Yes,
but it's not like I want to make an Oscar contender.
No.
It's I fucking have been wanting and been picturing. I can see the volumes of sketchbooks he has about Nightmare Alley for years without even working on the production of this.
Yes.
Just like, this is my dream of bringing this to fruition. And yes, it's pretty and gorgeous to look at, but I still feel the like love of Universal monsters and cheap RKO noirs kind of channeling it, engineering it.
I feel like Guillermo del Toro is really the anti-Bradley Cooper to me, because it's just, he's like, he it's not really at the end of the day for him about trying to win awards or like gain clout. He really just loves movies. He loves making movies.
Yes.
I just love that he's just this big dorky Mexican grandpa who loves It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He like acted in a bit role both on It's Always Sunny and also on an episode of Barry, because he likes these TV shows and he wants to be in them. Like, I don't know, man. This is the dream, is to just be untroubled by any greater thing than just like doing the work that you love and being a part of the industry.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Truman, we might be bringing this episode in shorter than the runtime of the movie.
Wow, that's a first for us. Although the movie...
We have to buy 15 minutes of time.
So, when Donald Fagen did his solo album, The Nightfly, it represented a real break with Steely Dan's previous work, but actually freed him up.
My nightmare alley.
Yeah, again, this is my geek show. It's just you throw me a Steely Dan album and I talk about the meanings behind all of the lyrics. Oh man. God. Yeah, so do we want to ask why this movie was forgotten?
Yeah, why do you think this movie was forgotten? I have a lot of information here. And actually, let me start with something kind of interesting.
Okay.
This is what I foreshadowed at the beginning of the film.
Oh yeah,
the beginning of the episode.
This
is what I foreshadowed at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
I don't. This will not ever happen again in movie memory machine history. I guarantee it.
That sounds like a challenge already.
From the time that the machine threw it at us to the time that we recorded this episode, in that duration, the Criterion Collection has announced its release of this film.
Oh.
And upon publication of today's episode, it is now available to buy on Criterion Collection as of 2 days ago.
Oh my gosh. Okay, everybody get going. Stop listening to the podcast. Go buy Nightmare Alley.
One of the exciting things about the Criterion release of this, and it goes into the look and feel of this, Guillermo del Toro wanted to shoot this as if it was black and white. He had this film as a black and white film in his head.
Yeah.
And had always intended to do a like George Miller chrome cut of, like he did with Fury Road.
Yeah.
A black and white director approved version of this, and it's now available over at Criterion.
Okay, that's pretty. I mean, I would be interested. It's difficult because the color palette of this movie is so beautiful and it is colored so well. It would be very interesting to see that in black and white. I remember reading that for some reason the Coen Brothers movie The Man Who Wasn't There, which is all in black and white, was released in color in France, but it's not just, we colorized it, but it's like a very beautiful faded kind of sepia toned, like it looks like a movie from the 50s that was just done in an early color process. And
Interesting.
Kind of fun to see the reverse side of that. That is an internet factoid I read when I was 13 years old, and I'm sure it's 100% true and remembered properly. It's easy to forget things about The Man Who Wasn't There.
Yeah.
But yeah, so okay, this movie is getting... This movie has real kind of like a lot of heavy hitters and distinguished people in the industry are big proponents of this movie. Marty Scorsese wrote an article encouraging people to go out and watch this movie when it was in theaters. He could see how badly it was doing, and he was saying, no, this film is important. We need to go watch it.
I think, so when we ask this question, why was this forgotten? I think we have a few specific answers we can give to that. But I think this is the first time where we could have just sat back and not did anything during this episode, because from here, I think this movie will be remembered, regardless of the conversation we've had today.
Yeah. I mean, remembered in the sense that it gains a growing cult and art house following that kind of, and then people are like, how did we sleep on this one 10 years from now or something like that?
Yeah, I think that when people go back to look at Guillermo del Toro's work, Bradley Cooper, anyone's work in this movie, like, they'll be like, oh, I didn't think about that, or I didn't see that one at the time, and I never sought that out, or, it wasn't well promoted on streaming channels, or there just wasn't a big cultural footprint about this movie when it came out, since it came out, and now I need to go back and look and like, oh, this is a fucking good movie.
Yeah.
I guess maybe your mileage varies on that, depending on who you are and what you're expecting going into it. But
I mean, again, this is a good movie. I don't like it as much as other movies we've watched. I think that it has. I think there's some holes in it, but like,
well, that opens up and something I'm glad we didn't get into here, because I've had many like almost friendship ending arguments about this, where I'm just going to pose the question to you. I'm not going to engage in the conversation. I'm just kind of curious. Would you say subjectively, this isn't your favorite film we've covered, but objectively the best film that we've done? Like on a technical level?
I'm pretty sure, yes. I'm pretty sure that from a technical standpoint, I mean, while Lightning Jack was very
cinematography, the script,
beautiful,
everything coming together with intention.
Yes, this movie has a lot. I guess I don't know if it outranks The Mexican for me, which is also a movie where I think kind of everything is working very well in concert together. But this, I would say, is certainly this movie has far more artistic merit than almost everything else we've done. Although I personally found The Rundown much more enjoyable to watch.
That's fair.
I will grant you this movie is objectively a much better film than The Rundown. It's better than The Last Song too. While we're at it,
I think also why this is forgotten. We talked about the Marvel of it all at the beginning of the episode, the COVID of it all at the beginning of the episode. But I think my memory of this is they were like coming off of The Shape of Water, selling this as a Guillermo del Toro movie, and not like, because in the pantheon of Guillermo del Toro movies, this is not his normal monstery fun time.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely his, but it's just not what you might expect going into a Del Toro movie.
Exactly. I think that's kind of why I think this one fell through the cracks. Short of all the other stuff going on, is just, if it was like, okay, I might get COVID if I go to the theaters to see a movie. What movie is in theaters? It's a Guillermo del Toro movie with a big scary monster in it that's all fucked up and goopy. I think you're going to get more people showing up for that versus like, it's Guillermo del Toro doing kind of an against type thing. It's his first movie with no supernatural elements. It's really like deep and like kind of psychological and thinky and beautifully filmed. Again, maybe that gets certain weird freaks out of the house, but I think that a lot of people know.
And I would also maybe point to the fact that this is a fucking bleak movie.
A little bit, slightly.
In the middle of pandemic, maybe not something that, A, they want to market as, and B, people actually want to sit through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, hey, you've had a rough couple of years, America. Here's a movie where the ending is the protagonist becoming a booze-addled chicken head biter for the rest of his life. He's turning into a ghoul anyway. Yeah. Enjoy. Thanks for coming to the theater. Heartbreak feels good here.
And the fact that this didn't quite hit the Oscar noms the way that they probably wanted.
Yeah.
Like if this ended up, this did get nominated for Best Picture, by the way.
Right, it did. It's one of those weird ones.
Yeah, where the Academy in 2009 was let's expand our Best Picture to 10 different films, and then over the years they're like, well, we only have 7 this year. Oh, and maybe we'll do 6. Oh, this year we have 8.
Yeah.
And this was one of those years they're like, fucking COVID. I don't know. Shape of Water was good. Let's give it to him in this one.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, Oscar's so white. Well, how about another Guillermo del Toro movie? Shut up, kids. Take that, libs.
Yeah, but if it had like gotten more nominations, if it had won any of the big categories, maybe it would have made more of a cultural imprint, but it just didn't.
Yeah.
For such a variety of reasons. But I think we're at a point where we're ready to, like, if people can get eyes on this, I think it will be remembered.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's certainly, I'm going to remember stuff from this movie. This is not going to slide off my brain. There's imagery and there's concepts and there's performances in this movie that are pretty sticky.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a term of endearment. It's pretty sticky.
Should we send this back to modern memory or leave it forgotten out here in 2021? I'm glad we're in a spaceship hovering over the Earth so that we don't actually have to be down on that pandemic-ridden place right now.
Yes, no, I'm going to wash my hands very carefully, but I'm going to say that we should absolutely, let's remember this movie. Let's remember it. Let's send it back to modern memory.
Yeah.
You're going to be a hard no, I take it.
I don't think we have a choice. I mean, I think people are going to remember this movie regardless of what we say.
Yeah.
So yes, 100%. I want to remember this movie. I did remember this movie. I will continue to remember this movie. I can't wait for the moment my Criterion disc shows up on my doorstep.
You're gonna throw it on in black and white, and
I am. There have been a handful of movies this year that I'm like, I'd watch that again, fairly soon. The second that the Criterion shows up, I am going to, because the black and white cut is also a director's cut. It's a little bit longer, a little bit different. I'm going to watch it immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm trying to think what other movies we've done that would be good with the black and white cut. What's the black and white cut of Ungentlemanly Warfare look like?
Just really like drag it across the ground to make it look like newsreel footage.
Yeah, exactly. You just have Guy Ritchie narrating the whole thing in his little announcer voice.
Oh God! All right. Well, we did a Nightmare Alley. We found our way back to the waking world.
We got back onto Nightmare Surface Streets.
I guess until next week when we cover any odds and ends for Nightmare Alley. For Truman Caps, I have been Landon Solano.
And for Landon Solano, I've been Truman Caps. Sweet dreams.
Movie Memory Machine is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpod to keep the machine running. Theme song by Porky's Groove Machine. Rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. For more information on today's show, visit MovieMemoryMachine.com.